once in a blue moon is quite literally the moment that we are in right now. And I felt intuitively called to speak some truth and love into this space, into this topic in particular. And with this energy, with this once in a blue moon energy, I thought, what better time to sit down and actually just take a deep breath firstly and open up into this space with vulnerability and speak on specifically that topic of vulnerability. And I really want to start by saying vulnerability to me, what it means to me, by being vulnerable, by being able to sit, to open up, to allow emotion to flow through you, to express from your soul, to speak about how you can grow, to acknowledge, to be accountable on how you can do better, you can expand, you can evolve. That comes hand in hand with the definition of vulnerability to me. And I believe it is so important right now, more than ever, for a collective consciousness to really embody what it means to be vulnerable. Because we've reached such a stage where our egos have gotten too scared to even speak truth into when we know we could have done better, or even feel comfortable with hearing how we could learn or grow, or be vulnerable to admit our emotions deeper. And this is, based this way, conditioning, societal conditioning, narratives, indoctrination, intergenerational. There's so much to work through, which is such an epic opportunity to have right now. But it's a lot. It's a lot. And to be vulnerable about that is to be truthful. To be truthful in what you are experiencing, who you are, what you desire, what emotions arise, and specifically what I want to speak on is acknowledging when you can learn, grow, and evolve. And this isn't for the sake of another, although ironically, that other is me, so it is. But even more so, it's for you. It's for you to actually allow yourself the time to come back to your heart, to open up your emotions, to actually want to grow, to want to evolve. And that's evolution embodied within ourselves, is that desire to actually remove all these barriers of protection through my emotions and drop these defenses and mechanisms and brain patterns and brain waves that do not serve us, operating certain patterns that do not serve us. It is about rewiring those patterns, getting your brain waves into a certain state, rewiring your mind, and then actually showing up with that inner drive to want to change, to want to do better, to want to grow, to want to evolve. Because the only constant thing is change. And so, with the theme of vulnerability, I want to speak some truth into a few things that I feel vulnerable about, that come to mind when I just think of the topic of vulnerability, and honestly anything else that myself is called to share in this. So I'm just going to start flowing with it. First thing first, something I really want to be vulnerable about is, you can even hear it in my throat chakra as it comes up, it's like vulnerable. The first thing I want to be vulnerable about is living here on the land. Living so deeply on country, connected to earth, connected to Pachamama, held out here is powerful, liberating, expansive. The way of the future is what I say, because it's the way of the past, and they are the same because the spiral never ever ends. But one thing that I don't often speak into, because many reasons, is that it's hard. It is really fucking hard to live so on the land, so at the mercy of Pachamama and her madness that is the seasons and the cycles and the weather and all kinds of things. It is liberating, and it has absolutely broken me like a wild stallion out here, just feeling the pressures of not only just the physical 3D in front of me pressures of new things I'm needing to learn and put my energy into, like um, learning all of the things around me that can either hurt me, harm me, or benefit me through herbalism, through the plants. You need to learn these things. You need to have that information because there is no doctor. I am the herbalist out here. I am the healer. And so I need to know this information because one wrong berry, I'm dead. One wrong bite from three of the most venomous snakes in the world that just happen to reside right here on this land, dead. And so having the having to be faced with the reality of life or death in so many different situations out here due to just being at the mercy of Pachamama, so deeply connected with country and out here just surrendering to the cosmic flow of it all, is exhausting and terrifying and liberating in the same breath. But this is me talking the vulnerability into what's actually hard out here, what I do feel vulnerable in. It's a huge vulnerability to entirely be responsible for yourself. You're that everything's vulnerable on you. You are your entire sole responsible parent out here. You have to parent yourself on everything. You have to do everything. You have to source wood. You have to chop water. You want lighting? Candles. You want to source candles? They need to be organic. You want to source organic candles locally? Who are you going to support? Where are you going to buy those from? Are you going to buy them in bulk? You're going to start making your own candles? If so, you need to get bees. You should already have bees for honey. Like, this is the stuff that is going through my head living out here on the land. And just opening up into that, it's hard. It's exhausting sometimes. I cry myself to sleep. The full moons, thank fuck I am in the bush for them, because I feel them and I scream and I cry and I sob and I snot and I just absolutely die and rebirth myself every moon, like Mama Luna has taught me so well. And that's something that I don't often share a lot online because, to be completely honest, I share the alchemy of it. I share the process of, how to guide someone through it. But when I'm in the crux of going through it myself, my phone's nowhere to be seen. Another reason why I live in the bush. I am just so deeply immersed into the healing, into the alchemy, that by the time I do want to share back online, I'm sharing the alchemy process, the evolution, creative expansion, and ideas that have come to me through releasing. And not often am I actually ever sharing into the process of how hard it can be and how hard it is, which is beautiful. There's no good or bad, there's no right or wrong, there's no tough or easy. It's your perspective on everything. And I really, really feel that being out here on the land, one of the biggest things that just I do feel so I need to be vulnerable about is my accountability. My accountability, both in a physical manner, like I said, I want warmth. Which dead wood am I going to drop? How am I going to chop it up? How am I going to safely drop it? How am I going to chop it up? I'm going to carry that back. I'm going to make sure that it's either dead or dry it out. Then need to split it, then get the fire going from sticks that I then need to collect, and that's just for warmth. So there's no flicking on a heater or flicking on an aircon, setting it to 24. It's you, me. It's the sole responsibility is on you, and that can be just exhausting. Sometimes it's just exhausting, depending on where I am in my cycle, depending on where the planets are aligned astrologically, depending on the seasons. Winter out here used to be a lot harder. It's definitely a lot more manual labor to keep things going on the homestead, like having to consistently look after the fire and keep, wood on top of everything and water and things like this. Summer's a little bit easier. You just turn into a full river rat and you bathe in the rivers, you're out in the sunshine, you don't need to worry about warmth. But then there's other things that come back. So you then have snakes in summer. You have snakes like crazy. If I fall asleep because it's 39 degrees with the door open, there will be pythons inside. There have been, it happens. It's a consistent thing out here. So there's so many beautiful opportunities for me to realize and see and feel my impermanence. And I love it. The inner philosopher within me, the ancient sage within me that has lived this life many a times before, the old druid living in the woods just feels that, knows that truth, and loves it. I love being so tempted, tested every day, and shown how impermanent my existence is, because it makes me live so much more in the present, in the fullest expansion of it all, because I could die at any minute. And being comfortable with death is something that you have to get used to out here, because it quite literally is something that could happen at any stage, just based on being at, again, the divine will of the universe, the mercy. Especially being out here, you hear it's windy, you hear a tree crack. Is that tree going to fall on my house? Do I need to move? Am I safe? Bushfires, floods, am I flooded in? Do I have enough food? Is there fuel? If it's not sunny, how am I getting the solar panels going? Where's the electricity coming from? I love it. I love the sovereignty of it all, but it is exhausting, and it has broken my ego. Just cracked it. Every time I think I get cocky about something, Pachamama goes, and remember, my dear child, here is your place in the beautiful ecosystem of it all, rather than the ego system. And it's liberating, and I love it. And I love living out here. And there's some other things I want to talk about, that, because I could go on about how much I love living out here for hours and hours, but there's more I want to talk about in regards to being vulnerable and opening up. So the first thing that's coming to me right now is, I was at a party 2 weekends ago, and I had a beautiful, beautiful woman come up to me, and she actually said, I follow you on Instagram, and I saw that you were coming to this event, and I was really excited to talk to you. I spoke to the woman that was hosting the event. She mentioned you were coming with a friend. I recognize your name. I follow you on Instagram. I'd love to have a chat. And this is me being vulnerable, even speaking space into this story, because I don't want to sound cocky. I don't want to sound egotistical. But I tell you what I do want to speak into, the truth of, I started sharing from my heart, my soul, my truth of what I was feeling as a spiritual being experiencing this human existence. And when I did that years ago, it's probably about 4 years ago now, I first started sharing myself online. When I did that, I had my mere closest friends follow, my account and support me, and my mum, my biggest supporter, commenting on everything, and my partner, and yes, and that was it. I had about 8 followers. I didn't really even recognize the power of my voice then, and this is something that I want to speak on, because I started speaking that truth when no one listened, and I felt no one was listening, but they were, and they do, and they are. And this is what I really just aim to embody, is that your voice is so valid. What you have to say, what you have to share, what your soul feels channeled and called to express is so necessary and so needed. And I really encourage you to be vulnerable, to share, to be your biggest supporter, to be your biggest best friend, to actually just encourage yourself to do, be, share, live, express, create, whatever it is that you feel so called to deep within your heart. And so years later now, when I have a beautiful community, I'm just expanding now deeper into the YouTube space, which is incredible. I feel so honored to have built and have such a beautiful, equal energy exchange of me giving what I feel called to share naturally, and then to be received back by a beautiful, random stranger, but now sister, at a party, who sat down and vulnerably opened up, and we had a beautiful conversation. And what I took away from it was how important it is to really just speak my truth, to share honestly and openly more of how I am feeling truthfully, genuinely, especially the times that feel scary to be vulnerable, scary to speak of, or you don't feel so confident in sharing, or you're a bit shy about. I encourage you now more than ever to embody that vulnerability. And that leads me to speak on the vulnerability, how to actually be vulnerable. Because it's scary. It can feel scary to sit down. I'll give an example. Whenever I am in discussion with someone and I recognize and realize how I can evolve and show up better for myself and for another, therefore each other and all of us in one. Whenever I'm having a discussion with someone and they say, hey, actually, I know this wasn't your intention, but I feel like this. Rather than egotistically reacting and saying, well, that wasn't my intention, that's yours to deal with, you're triggered, good luck, which I've noticed a lot of just at the moment as we evolve in the collective. The bigger, better thing that I feel, everyone's different, but my opinion that I feel is the right thing to do, is the right path to evolution, is to then embody and listen. And what I've been aiming to do is ask, oh, obviously, I'm sorry that wasn't my intention, but I would love to hear, and I want to learn and understand and listen to how that made you feel, so that way I can broaden my perspective on how, regardless of my intentions or not, energy can still be received and perceived in such a way. And to further understand this person and myself, I'm going to expand my awareness to fully incorporate and understand all perspectives involved. And that takes vulnerability. That takes accountability. And so being vulnerable means being comfortable with knowing that you will forever be learning and growing and evolving. You will forever be wanting to learn, to better yourself, to do better than you did yesterday. There's no comparison or competition within each other. Comparison is the thief of joy. The only comparison, if you do want to make any, should be with yourself. Compare your behaviors and beliefs and actions to, does that really embody, express, and experience my highest self and my highest timeline? And that takes courage. It takes the ability to sit there, to cry, to battle with your ego if it comes up, but let it go. It's worth just letting it go earlier on. Let it go, let it go, let it go. You want to evolve, release, remove that barrier of defense, and just be vulnerable. Hey, wow, I didn't even realize that. I'm so sorry. I'd love to hear how I made you feel that way. Let's talk about it more. And open yourself up into wanting to evolve, because every single cell in your body is. You are the living embodiment of evolution. And I have found so much expansion, energetically, spiritually, by allowing myself to be open and vulnerable, to admit when I reacted rather than acted, to be accountable for my behavior and take my growth into my own hands. And by doing that, I have just noticed and embodied and felt and feel such an expansion, because it's like I've almost unlocked the secret to completely I guess it's just Age of Aquarius, isn't it? We're all really coming to terms with understanding that we are a collective consciousness. And by treating each other as such, by being vulnerable, by being real and raw and open and honest and truthful to who you are, to your soul, to your heart, is the key to the future. It's being truthful in your core essence and being absolutely open enough to just be yourself. Be yourself. Be vulnerable enough to be who you are. And my goodness, I'm just going to say it because I've had conversations recently about it. Do not care about the perception of how you are perceived by others. We did not come here for that. You're welcome to, but you're wasting your time. If you do that, you are then going to the grave and going, I'm so glad I limited myself because I felt a bit embarrassed, or I was shy, or that person judged me. Ooh, what a fun-filled, expansive life that was. No thanks. I'd rather be that expansive person and recognize that others' opinions of you are exactly that. Nothing to do with you. Their perception of you through their own biases, their own images, their own beliefs, their own past experiences. And that's okay. And so I encourage you to live and be yourself entirely, regardless of what anyone else thinks about you, because it quite literally doesn't fucking matter. It does not matter. You did not come to this planet for this. Look at this, it's hitting me in the head. Boom, boom, exactly. Point proven. You did not come here for this. And so I really just want to speak into that, because people so often ask me how I don't care, how I'm so, but you're so bold and you're so confident and you're so courageous and you're so expressive, and as if my soul's giving me a choice not to be. My soul came here with a mission. It refuses to be suppressed. This incarnation, it's like, you've done that, doll. You came here last time. You were burnt in a past life for this. You're safe to do so, and if anything, it is the right way. It is, with every cell in my body, I know and feel to be the truth of the evolution of humanity and expansion of the collective consciousness, is by all of us embodying and expressing from our souls entirely, without care of how we are perceived. I'm just thinking if there's anything else I want to be vulnerable about. There's a lot, and I'll start sharing more. I'll start sharing more on my social media and with my online community, because I do share in person. I do share a lot in person. I'm very vulnerable. But I will start capturing and sharing more of my raw, vulnerable moments, because I recognize how much I have to gain when other people are vulnerable to me. And so the greatest gift is to give, and I hope that me giving and speaking vulnerability into this space, take away from it whatever you will. And as always, sending love.